This ESPN podcast is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com.
Welcome to the Grantland Oscar Preview.
This is a little game we like to call, Are We Sure They're Good? Notice how I raised my voice?
That was great.
That,
it's perfect inflection.
Just people who, yeah, they're good, we cross them off, but nobody really totally thinks about it. I just want to make sure they're good. First one, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Who knows?
Are we sure he's good?
Yeah, he's good. Just off of the Sherlock stuff alone, I think he's good.
But
and August Osage County, which was almost unwatchable, but he was
Chris
good.
Connelly!
Didn't you think?
There are like 9 other people in that movie who didn't embarrass themselves.
Are you kidding? Are you
That's
kidding
not
that
true.
movie?
There's maybe
one.
Are
you kidding?
But he was maybe the most embarrassing of all the embarrassments.
Wow, okay then.
He had nothing to do.
Wow.
He was just...
I got served.
I don't know if you got served. I'm just saying. We don't know. I don't think he's bad. I'm not sure that he's good.
I think he's good. I didn't think he was that good in that movie.
But you like the movie,
I like the movie, but I'm not positive I liked him in it. Imitation Game.
Wow,
that's
You need to give me more time to build this machine.
Yeah, he was so character-y.
Yeah, I don't get what...
He didn't seem like a human being.
I would love to hear an actor tell me what about Benedict Cumberbatch in that movie is so appealing to them. More appealing than like the 9 other people who didn't get nominated.
Or the actors who are like, man, that guy killed it. I'm jealous of that performance. I don't think any other of his competition was jealous of that.
I think this is just part of a wave. Whatever we feel about Benedict Cumberbatch, I think we're supposed to feel about... I wish people felt about Michael Fassbender. We're just like coasting on some sort of like love of Benedict Cumberbatch that I don't really entirely feel is... It's all kind of Sherlock-based.
Is he Fassbender's market correction?
These guys are 2 completely different individuals.
I know, but what I'm saying is...
Fassbender's like a throbbing something, you know. Fassbender's
Okay,
like...
I'll say.
Fassbender, you know. However, moving on.
Jessica Chastain, we're sure she's good.
We're sure.
Yeah, we're moving on.
And we'll continue to get opportunities to
I think
prove
she's
that.
fantastic.
Yes.
Clint Eastwood as a director.
Are
really?
Sure
You're
he's trolling.
Still good.
You're trolling.
I can go on this for some time.
This is okay.
But here's the short answer. He doesn't care about a lot of the stuff that the rest of people care about. He doesn't have time. If he sits and thinks about what Sienna Miller's backstory should be, or what should actually inspire that character to join the armed services in the wake of 9/11, he's not going to make another movie. He's just decided, I'm not going to care about this other stuff. Right. I'm going to get to the stuff I care about. So he pares it down. He throws pages out. He shoots the rehearsal. He's a man in a hurry because he will still be able to make the movie he wants without fretting about this stuff. It cuts against the grain sometimes of what we love about movies, but it works for him.
I don't think he's made an interesting directed movie. I don't remember the last time, $1 Million Baby, and I didn't even like that movie.
Yeah, I think that there are things about all of his movies in the last 15 years that really fascinate me, and I think that he is a good director. I think that...
You think he's still a good director?
I think he's still a good director.
I think the style has now become interesting.
Yeah.
Now I think because he doesn't care about this stuff, because shots aren't in focus.
Right.
Because
Jersey
performances
Boys
are bad. He just doesn't care. And now I'm fascinated, because Woody is sort of the same way, too. It's like, I don't care what her backstory is to get her in. That's all I want. I just want her there. Right. I want her in the bar, and I want them to leave, and I want them to be a couple. I'm not going to care about.
There's a weird, fussy crotchetiness to the form in Eastwood's movies, especially.
Because now the topics of the movies are like how he makes the movies. It's like, I don't want all this talk. I don't want all this introspection, okay? You guys, you love the introspection in the movies. Why did I do this? Why did I do that? I'm not interested in characters who are like that, and I don't want to make movies like that. I'm going to shoot the first rehearsal, I'm going to shoot the first take, and we're going to move on, and we're not going to talk about it.
It's like Seinfeld's bit about when people get old, when they're backing out of the driveway. They're like, I'm backing out of the driveway. I don't care if anyone's coming. I'm just coming out.
He's just coming out.
He's just coming out.
Like, there's some shots in Jersey Boys where I'm just like, oh, my God, get out of the way. Somebody's backing out of the driveway.
Yeah, but he's just in it. You know, it's like if he thinks about it too much, that's a movie he won't be able to make.
No, I'm with you. I just feel at some point, though, you know, with a movie like American Sniper, there is a kind of responsibility that you have to have in telling certain stories. Jersey Boys, whatever, fine.
You just have to decide if that's only because, you know, depending on the side of the aisle you sit on. That's the thing.
Well, the movie's kind of like apolitical in that way.
Well, we can go on, but
can we all agree Sniper made the most amount of money it would have made with Clint Eastwood directing it the way he directed it?
There isn't another person in the DGA who would have ended that movie the way Clint Eastwood did. And part of the reason that movie did so well is that he ended the movie the way he did.
I wish 9 other directors had directed it. I think that could have been such a more interesting movie.
Yeah, but I mean,
I was
if you're Warner
disappointed by
Brothers,
it.
you're like, well, thank God, because...
Well, I told you my theory on this. I think people get ready for certain types of movies, and they don't realize they're ready for it until they come out. And people are ready for an old-school war movie that didn't get into the nitty-gritty stuff of what was going on in the Iraqi war, and just like, hey, I just want to see the flag, and I want to see some people get shot.
I just imagine him watching other Iraqi war movies and thinking, I'll show you how to make one of these movies.
Well, I'm going to make an old-school one that they would have made in 1958.
Again, look out, I'm backing out!
Yeah!
Who else you got?
Steve Carell. Are we sure he's a good dramatic actor?
No, we don't have it.
I thought Dan in real life was this close to being really good. I thought that Dan in real life was one speech away from getting it right. You know,
I liked him more in the way back.
I think he has a center. I think he has an interesting center, and I'm interested to see how he deploys that. Your point about Foxcatcher being found in the edit and having could have gone a couple of ways. That's right, and he's well grafted for that. You know.
Yeah, I think 40-Year-Old Virgin is. I mean, that is essentially, it is obviously a comedy, but he's not playing the comedy.
He's really good in that.
Right.
And he is really good in that movie because he's going in a different direction.
Like Jack Black and Bernie or something like that.
Yeah, he trusts that Apatow is going to do the stuff that Apatow needs to do to get the movie to where Judd Apatow wants it to be, but he's also given Steve Carell the permission to be on this island unto himself, and that's really fascinating.
The question is, will they build comedies around guys like that? If you look at comedies now, you know, they don't usually use guys like that to score off of, do they?
Peter Sellers turned into that toward the end. I mean, I feel like it's a limited example, but there is a precedent for comedic actors in the way that Steve Carell, I think, is funny, to get a good director who can give you the space to do stuff.
A comic actor, I mean, I'm kind of biased because I like him and I'm friendly with him, but I think Bill Hader could have a chance to be an interesting actor.
Yeah, I mean, Skeleton Twins, did you guys see that?
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I mean, he's so good in that movie.
I did like that a lot.
And he plays the comedy. He's not afraid of being funny, but he has a number of different ways
He's an Oscar
of being
prospect
funny.
for me.
Yes.
Here's the thing, like Hader can get his own shot. You know, Carell kind of has to have the ball past him. You kind of have to run a play for Carell.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So Hader's like James Harden and Carell's more like
Jim
Thompson.
like Jim Carrey can fire up 30 shots in the course of a game. Some guys you got to run plays
That's a really good point.
Wesley's not going to like this one. Morton Tildum, are we sure he's good?
No, we're not.
Let's make the case for Morton Tildum because maybe he needs the case to be made for him, okay?
I think he does.
He is the director of The Imitation Game, right? The Imitation Game keeps 3 different sequences going throughout the picture. It braids these sequences. One is, you know, from the 50s when Alan Turing is arrested. One is from childhood, where we find out kind of the bases of Alan Turing's interests and his sexuality. And one is the heart of the movie, okay? You would, if you like the movie, you have to give him credit for managing those 3 different time sequences in a way that builds to your understanding of what Turing was risking and what he accomplished by what he did and what he was.
I found all of that conventional and totally confused. I'm not even saying it's a badly directed movie. I would say it's miswritten, and by virtue of its being miswritten, I also think it's then sort of assembled in this very sort of standard movie biography sort of way.
It's interesting in that I think it has something to do with the time that it's being done in, that stuff about his being arrested has to be in the movie. You know, because I think for an audience now, it's hard to understand why people would ever, you know, not allow a gay person to do the same things that a straight person would.
Yeah.
And so that part wouldn't have been in the movie if you'd made it 25 years ago. People would say, well, I understand it. They wouldn't have let him do that. You know?
I also think there's another half hour of that movie that ought to be there, too. I feel like any time you're telling me the most interesting thing about the person the movie's about in the title card at the end, I give up.
But here's but, you know, this is the thing. You don't kill the guy. You never kill a guy in a biopic, right? The idea is to not kill a guy in a biopic. You kill him in the card afterwards. That's the way biopics are just done.
That's a recent development, though. Lots of people die in movie biographies.
But it's interesting that these days one usually doesn't
increasingly
see it.
You don't see it
usually
anymore.
One doesn't Remember, the big problem with this, these are British people. It's like they find a way to solve the war. You think they're going to jump up and down? It's like, cup of tea. You know? They're British people in the war. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
That'll have another tea. Yes.
Last one, Felicity Jones.
We don't know. She's fine in this movie.
She was good in Like Crazy, too.
Yeah, she was also good in Like Crazy. This is talk about like supporting parts blown up into into leads. I just feel like there's not enough for her to do in this movie.
Yeah, you said that in your review, didn't I?
I don't know. I mean, I really like her, and I also think she's somebody who will be nominated in the future if she gets the right parts. I mean, she's fighting with Keira Knightley and
she's younger.
She's younger.
She's younger. I mean, she's more like, could she be like the next Winslet or something like that? That's the thing you're sort of thinking about. But
you wonder. You don't know.
Really, I will admit you don't know yet.
Yeah.
Bill Simmons is the Academy Awards preview host.
I would watch that. I think you'd be great.
I'm not sure he's good. We're going to talk about favorite performances that were nominated. But first, favorite performances that weren't nominated. Wesley, the very famous Wesley Morris, take the floor.
Scarlett Johansson. I mean, I've got a long list of people.
Lucy?
She is not for Lucy, for Under the Skin.
Oh.
For Under the Skin. Lucy, she's really good in for like 40 minutes. And
Great
then
airplane movie.
The closer she gets to becoming the monolith, the like less interesting the performance becomes.
Right.
But Under the Skin, she's got a very sort of limited range of things she can do in this movie, and she makes the most of each choice. She's basically playing a space alien inhabiting the body of some Scottish lady. She progresses from robotic, like impersonating a human, and she becomes increasingly more emotionally human as the movie goes on. And she uses her body in these really interesting ways, both as a sexual lure.
Tell me more.
Well, no, I mean, the point is that, like, Scarlett Johansson, like, the idea is that this woman is seducing these men for reasons that the aliens don't ever explain to us. But she then finds herself becoming an actual woman and is astonished to find out how the world treats actual women. And that it's just a really interesting physical and kind of closed off performance where she seems blank, but she gives you a lot.
And this is already like the third or fourth stage of this interesting career that Scarlett Johansson is
I mean,
having.
she's got a great...
Just a very quick question. Should we be concerned that she keeps playing humans that are becoming robots and robots that are becoming humans and voices on computers?
Yeah, no,
like, is she trying to tell us something?
No,
what is she trying to tell us?
She's a hardworking person. I mean, she had a baby, like it seems like 5 minutes ago, has already been doing reshoots for Avengers 2. I mean, she's a trooper. She makes it happen.
I always think the roles actors choose when you look at them collectively probably says something. Like Will Smith went through that really weird futuristic.
Yes, he did.
Like, what was he trying to tell us with that?
This is absolutely right. It's like these guys can choose whatever they want, right? They have every choice. The selections they make in terms of the movies they make should tell you a ton about them.
Cruise is like, my marriage is getting weird. You know what'll make it better? I'm going to make a 2-year Stanley Kubrick movie about a weird marriage with my wife.
Wasn't supposed to be 2 years.
Wasn't supposed to be 2 years?
No,
right.
just
What's your
kept going.
favorite performance that wasn't nominated?
Tyler Perry in Gone Girl. If there was what's a supporting actor supposed to do?
Yes,
more and more supporting actors are like co-leads.
Yes.
J.K. Simmons, who's fantastic, he's on screen the whole movie. God bless him. That's great. But my favorite supporting actor performances sometimes are the ones that just come in and flip on a switch in the room. It's like you've been with the principals, you've gotten to know them, you get what's going on, and all of a sudden, like 2/3 of the movie, bang, there's a little jolt of energy. Tyler Perry, every time he's on screen, you just love him in that. He's so effortless. He's so great as that lawyer.
And he's acting in the movie that you think you're watching that I don't think David Fincher knows he's making. Do you know what I mean? He's sort of got this running commentary on the action.
It's one big SMH.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, this is too much for you guys are doing. I just loved every time he was on the screen. It was just like, I get you. I thought that was a classic supporting performance, and I really liked it.
Grantland's Chris Ryan and I have a running joke about this called Heat Check Guys.
Yeah.
Where in basketball, like Jamal Crawford comes off the bench and he takes 10 shots in 4 minutes. He's just hot. He's making shots. He's like, hey, Jamal Crawford's here. And some of the famous heat check guys in movies where you look at, like, for example, True Romance. Walken comes in.
Yeah.
Just heat check. He's firing threes. He's making 25-footers. But I think it's really hard to come off a bench and kind of own a movie for a scene. Nicholson in A Few Good Men was like that.
But John Lovett's in A League of Their Own. John Lovett starts A League of Their Own, bang, 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 bang. I'm out of here.
Then we decided Kiefer Sutherland in A Few Good Men was like when Marcin Gortat comes off the bench and has 10 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 fouls in 9 minutes.
Then
hitting basketball here, yeah. All right, my favorite performance that wasn't nominated. This is a controversial one. Jennifer Aniston in Cake.
Oh.
For 2 reasons.
Oh my God, my brain just exploded. Hold on.
That's certainly exactly what I thought you would say.
Let me pick up my brain off the floor. I thought you were going to go for Horrible Bosses too.
No.
That's a glaring call.
First important point, I did not see Cake.
Of course you didn't.
Second most important point, I'm in on Aniston. I'm just saying I'm always rooting for it. But here's why I was disappointed it wasn't nominated. Jolie and Aniston are the Red Sox and the Yankees for this decade. Like, the Yankees stink now. Yeah. Like, the Steinbrenners ruined the Yankees, and the Red Sox won 3 World Series. Like, Red Sox and Yankees, there's not that hatred anymore. The game's on Sunday nights. It's on for 4.5 hours. Nobody's just sitting there going, I hate the Yankees, I hate the Red Sox. It's gone.
Yes.
Aniston and Jolie is now the world's defining rivalry.
And
I wanted them to be in the same room. I wanted her nominated. I wanted them to cut to Jolie as her little frozen smile as she pretended she didn't know the camera's on her. I wanted all of it, and they robbed me of it.
Yeah, I mean, they robbed you twice because Jolie's got nothing and Aniston's got nothing. Aniston actually
Aniston wouldn't have gone if Jolie got nominated.
There's only been one that, not even the Golden Globes managed to nominate both of them, which is a shock in terms of the way the Golden Globes usually does business. The Critics' Choice Awards, I think, did get them both under the roof for something, but that will be the only time.
It's the Ali Frazier of our times.
Are you really kidding about this? Like, Jennifer Aniston was nominated for an Oscar and Jolie was also? Aniston wouldn't go?
I don't think she goes.
Wow.
Oh, I don't think she goes.
I don't know. I mean, if she was nominated for Cake.
No. Listen, I have no evidence whatsoever. Why are you guys arguing with me? I'm just guessing. I don't think she'd go.
Fortunately, it wasn't.
I think she'd pretend she had bronchitis.
I'm a huge fan of bronchitis. Like, I think she's really good in that
love
movie.
Aniston.
And that she wasn't nominated made me sad in a way that you can be sad for a person who has it all.
But here's the thing. This is the flip side of the screener thing. It's like that movie got nominated before any human being had seen it. And at some point, it's not a knock on her at all. At some point, the audience should have a say.
This is my number one thing about the way the Oscars work now. We can talk about it later. But I have very strong feelings about exactly what you just said.
I thought Aniston got robbed for Picture Perfect, though, but that's the story for another time.
Oh, my God. Right, what's next?
Wesley, your favorite that was actually nominated?
Marion Cotillard. She has a great year every year she's in a movie. I think she is one of the most sort of emotionally resonant actresses I've ever seen. I watch her and her eyes will just well up for no apparent reason, and so my eyes well up too.
Marcel! Marcel!
So she's like a Chris Bosh? Would you like a Chris Bosh type? Just good every year? You don't totally notice her?
Well, maybe, because she's been good in other movies since she won the Oscar, and you were nervous that her winning out of the gate like that was going to just ruin everything for her. And and for a while she was the dream girl in all these movies. In that Michael Mann movie, she was the dream girl, the Dillinger movie.
Not for me. I don't trust the French.
Well, this is a different conversation we could have. But I mean, you were nervous that she was going to turn into what Penelope Cruz began as in Hollywood.
She has 2 pitches she can throw. She can be the most beautiful woman in any movie.
Yes.
She can be the most beautiful woman on any carpet. She'll wear this amazing dress. But in that, in the movie where she's like the SeaWorld trainer, she can also do something different with her acting.
Yeah.
And then that kind of inner glow she has makes you like her a little more, makes you go with her a little more. It's a tool, not the thing that she is.
Right.
And that makes her very compelling.
Were you going to say that her other thing is being really good? She's a really good villain. I mean, that Dark Knight, the last Batman movie.
Spoiler for 5 years ago.
An appalling character, but she was really good at it.
She wields the glamour. That's the thing. She isn't just the glamour. She wields the glamour, and that makes her special.
I like the idea of actors and actresses having pitches.
Yeah.
They do. They do.
So she has a fastball, slider, and a curve.
Yes.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah. I would say no, maybe 2. She's got a fastball and a curve.
Vin Diesel, maybe just a fastball.
I don't know. Vin Diesel's got a screwball now, thanks to Groot.
Yeah.
Thanks to Guardians of the Galaxy.
He learned a screwball from Tom Hanks.
He's got a screwball.
Who is your favorite that was nominated?
Glenn Campbell, nominated for Best Original Song for I'm Not Gonna Miss You. Campbell, who, as we know, suffers from Alzheimer's, who is the subject of a documentary. If you grew up like I did, Glenn Campbell was, a huge star. And he's one of those guys where you thought, boy, I should see him in concert. No, it'll be cheesy. It'll be too Vegas-y. I won't go to see him because it'll be all schmaltzy and stuff. And then you get to a certain age and you realize, well, you're not going to get the chance to see him. Maybe you should have all that time. And so that he gets nominated for this really final song of his career is a powerful thing.
Anything, Nat?
No, Glenn
Wesley was moistening up there. He got emotional.
Sorry.
Do we need to take a break?
No, I mean, it's...
So my first experience with Glenn Campbell was just him being on People Magazine all the time with Tanya Tucker.
Yeah. No, I mean,
back when People Magazine
when I did Random Notes, I remember writing about Tanya and Glenn.
I'm sitting here in silence because there's this whole other universe I'm not even going to go into bringing this up.
Yeah, let's not.
Let's just move on.
My favorite that was nominated, Rosamund Pike.
That's one of my favorites.
Here's my theory on Gone Girl. I think Fincher was ready to mail it in. And he's just like, I'm just thinking to do a studio movie, whatever. They cut me a big check. I'm not going to really try on this one. And I think he got enthralled by Pike, and she's so good in it. And she was such an ice queen. It was like the Gwyneth Paltrow performance I always wanted, but never really got. And I think about halfway through, Fincher's like, you know what? And he like rolled up his sleeves.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm going to try.
Yep.
And that scene when she, spoiler alert, is one of the best scenes of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
And after that, I felt like Fincher's in on this movie now, and I didn't feel like he was in the first hour.
Give Fincher a little more credit for being in on this movie. Fincher, the book is bought by Reese Witherspoon to star in.
Yes.
I guess Fincher comes in a little later, and one of the first things Fincher does is take Reese Witherspoon out for dinner and saying, by the way, you're not going to be in this movie. That takes
very Belichickian.
That takes some onions, you know.
Yes.
Here's why. I'm not going to put you in the movie because I think he said because you're too well known, and I need someone who's more
That's
mysterious.
a great concept, though, is when actors bring too much baggage from their own persona to a role. And I think one of the reasons I liked Rosamund Pike was because I didn't really have any baggage with her. It was just this new person that I didn't know.
Total blank slate. And that's what I think. And so that's a key decision to make right away. And he made I think, the right one for the movie.
I don't know if I agree with the decision, but I think Rosamund Pike is great in this movie. And I think that I love your idea that, like, despite what we know is actually true, the movie doesn't really wake up until her performance changes.
It's a traditional boring movie, but then I've heard the theory that Fincher actually wants it that way. And he wants to be boring, and he wants to be middle American.
You know, in the old days, I remember they used to give out an award online for best performance by an inanimate object in a movie. And if I had a vote, I would vote for the calendar in Gone Girl. I thought the calendar was amazing.
That should be in the Oscars over
the calendar was an incredible performance by the calendar.
There were some good props. The pen was a good prop.
One other thing on Rosamund Pike, I just think it's really hard sometimes to play the Ice Queen psycho, like just whatever. Like we've seen it happen unfold so badly in so many different hands, which is why I actually think Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct is now a really, really underrated performance. She's so good in it.
Mm-hmm. But think how much
Pike is like that for me in this.
I thought you made the key point, though. It's like, for all the ways that we're steeped in everything about actors and actresses in popular culture, when we see a performance by someone we really don't know anything about, it does kick us up a notch.
Yeah.
It does, like, who
Zellweger and Jerry
you?
Maguire's like that, because now you watch it now and it's like, that's Renee Zellweger. But back then it's like, who is this person?
And you can't refine that moment.
No.
Like, that moment only happens the first time you see the movie.
You sort of felt like that should have been Jack O'Connell in an Unbroken. There's a number of people where you're just surprised. Like, this movie would be a totally different movie-going experience, and I think Gone Girl doesn't work in the way that it works if she's bad.
Well, and the other thing, you mentioned Unbroken. That was my biggest problem with that movie. I didn't care about that guy. Right. I didn't think he was good enough. Right. If you had taken Leo DiCaprio circa 93 and put him in that movie, and now it's like, wow, this is in the hands of a real dude, and I care what happens to him, I feel differently about that movie.
I thought the problem, was that Jack O'Connell looks like me. Everybody in that movie talks about, he has the pasty white skin. Remember, the movie talks about that he's an Italian, that he's constantly discriminated because he's Italian.
Right.
He doesn't look like a Mediterranean, you know? He doesn't look like a kind of guy who would have gotten discriminated against just on sight.
Right. No,
just because he looks like something.
That person, who would you cast in that role?
Well, I blame Shia LaBeouf, because he clearly should have been that Unbroken guy.
Yeah. That actually is perfect. I think we're supposed to laugh. I'm not sure, but that actually is a really smart choice.
I said it unironically.
No, I agree with you.
He was going to do it, and then he found out that he didn't get to have sex with the Japanese people, and that was it. He was out.
The number of actors from other...
He picked sex movies.
I almost believe that.
Sorry.
The number of actors from other countries who are playing Americans this year is just unbelievable.
It's shocking.
If you look at Selma and George Wallace and LBJ and Martin Luther King are all played by British actors. It's kind of incorrect. I don't know what it means.
Are you worried? Do you feel like they're taking over?
It's a crisis. We've outsourced everything.
Weird. Why are we outsourcing
We don't even
acting?
make our own performances anymore.
And they come up with all our TV shows now.
Yeah, no, and it's funny.
What do we have? Well, you know what we're going to give them. We're going to give them the Werewolves of London. We're going to give them the NFL team.
Yeah.
Right.
My only thing about the accent thing is, I was glad that Amy Poehler sort of turned it into a joke at the Golden Globes. I hope it resonates with people that, yes, we actually do know, we can always smell a bad American accent.
But they've done pretty well. I have to say, they're all pretty good. They're all pretty good.
They're not, they're not.
I can't really ding them.
It's been 240 years. I think we need to watch out for the British. One of the most fun things to do with the Oscars, gamble. can gamble on these things.
Bring it.
I love gambling.
Don't do it.
I asked my buddy Cousin Sal to do some props for us. He sent some fake ones first. I'm just going to read these quick. 15-1 odds, Boyhood's Richard Linklater announces he will wait 12 years to give his Best Director speech.
This goes to yours thing. This is,
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Even odds that Kanye West interrupts Clint Eastwood's acceptance speech and announces to the world that Selma was in fact the best picture. I could actually see that. I would put like $10 on that.
I'm not sure Eastwood would get to give that speech, but I wouldn't doubt that somebody would want to do that.
Yeah, the jury's still out.
And then even odds the boy in Boyhood is mistaken for Clint Eastwood on the red carpet. I think that's a dig at the boy. Maybe the actor's playing the boy. All right, we're going to do some real ones here. Best actor, we've been circling this the whole time. Keaton is 1-2, and then after that you get better and better odds. Would you bet $200 to win 100 on Michael Keaton for best actor?
No.
Or would you do Bradley Cooper?
I'd put all my money on Bradley Cooper.
33-1 right now, Bradley Cooper.
I think Eddie Redmayne is a guy to bet on. I think Keaton's going to win. But I think if you wanted a longer shot, I think Eddie Redmayne has the best chance of winning, of someone who isn't Keaton. I don't think it's going to be Cooper's year.
I agree with you about Eddie Redmayne, but I also feel like if you're watching these movies, I don't know, I found of the 5 people nominated, the person who surprised me the most with how good they were in the movie was Bradley Cooper.
But we know the way people feel about this movie. You know the way that they've kind of polarized these people.
It's polarizing.
And I just think a huge segment of the Academy is, for their own reasons, is not going to want to reward this movie one way or another.
Right.
I think he should be good. He should feel good being in there, because I think that's the David Oyelowo slot that he's got there.
100%.
Not that he's not a good performance, but I think that's the slot he got.
I agree.
I was most surprised by Cooper. I never felt like it was Bradley Cooper. I actually felt like it was the character, which I didn't know if he could do that. Best actress props, Julianne Moore is basically 1-20, which means you have to bet $200 to win 10. That's how that works. Yeah. Not great odds.
It's not inaccurate, though.
Reese Witherspoon is 9-1 would be the next best one. So Julianne Moore, don't even bet on this.
The thing is, Reese has won before, and that's what it's all about.
She's got no chance.
That's what it's all about.
I think if there's a dark horse, it's Rosamund Pike.
So she's 20-1 right now.
I don't see her winning, but I think if Julianne Moore loses to anybody, it's gonna be Rosamund Pike.
There's never big surprises at the Oscars in the actor categories.
Sometimes there are.
Sometimes there's a Kathy Bates.
There are. Sometimes crazy stuff happens.
Sometimes Kathy
Who
Bates.
did Kathy Bates beat?
Joanne Woodward,
Mr. and Mrs.
Meryl
Bridge?
Streep, Joanne Woodward, Julia Roberts, and oh man, who's the 5th person? I can't remember.
I remember the scream when Marissa Tomei beat Vanessa Redgrave.
I'll never forget that. Yep.
Because they read the wrong name?
I went back and looked at that. I went back and looked at the tape. I looked at the tape like you'd look at one of those surveillance tapes from TMZ to see if there was any chance that Jack Palance had gone off script. No, he's in there the whole way.
Like when David Stern's reaching for the Knicks envelope.
And it's frozen? No, I know. No, I remember the scream. And as we realize now, Marissa Tomei is actually a pretty good actor, so it wasn't a bad choice after all.
She won that. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, she won the entire history of that controversy.
Right. Best Picture, Boyhood is heavy favorite right now. You'd have to bet $150 to win 10.
I wouldn't make that bet.
Selma's 20-1, Birdman's 16-1, American Sniper's 25-1.
I feel like Boyhood feels inevitable because it's been the critics' choice. And because
really?
Well, I'm just saying that because it's the critics' choice, it seemed like the choice for a long time. But as you know, once the Golden Globes are over, the guilds step in.
Right.
And so we've not really heard from the guilds in a major way on what they think. Just a little argument still to be made that something could steal it. And it would be Selma, probably.
I think Selma. If Boyhood loses, it would only be to Selma. And I think Selma's odds are getting increasingly better.
There's no chance all the old geezers are just going to jump on the American Sniper bandwagon?
I don't think American Sniper's success changes how the vote will go.
Right.
I think it changes how people watching the Oscars will perceive how the vote went. Because I think a lot of people out there will say, I don't understand, this is a hit movie. This was a movie, none of these other movies were... This movie made more in its first weekend than any of these other movies have made in their individual runs.
Right.
Why aren't they giving it some attention? So I think the audience watching the Oscars may think, this movie needs more support, why isn't it getting it? I don't think it makes it a contender inside the Academy.
One of my favorite things about the Oscars is the in memoriam montage. Because... For a couple reasons, like
you really do love.
I like. Montage. Sometimes you don't know, like, oh my God, that person died. I'm always like just riveted for those 5 minutes, and you get emotional, and you see certain people, and you're like, I forgot that, you know. And one of the fascinating things about it is who they decide to put at the end, and it's always without really saying it, you're kind of saying it. Like, this was the most important person that passed away this year in the movie industry. So, if you had to pick who was going to be the end person, here are the odds. Robin Williams, heavy favorite. Lauren Bacall, Harold Ramis, Mickey Rooney, and Sal Thrun, the ultimate warrior for comedy's sake. Who would you pick?
I mean, Robin Williams, I think. I mean, it's between Mickey Rooney and Robin Williams, I would say.
You know, I think the interesting thing about that is that when you're actually in the house, they tell you not to clap. I mean, they just tell you don't.
But people can't help it.
Don't clap. But when you're there, when you're watching it, and you see somebody, and it's just like you said, when you don't realize that they died, or it's someone you had a particular fondness for, you just can't help it.
Right.
Not the most famous person, but just like somebody, a director.
No, right.
I mean,
a
screenwriter. You find yourself doing this, and you just go, I can't believe I just did that.
I don't like the applause. It always bothers me.
I don't like it because it seems to go up and
It's
down
just
depending on the
not-
person.
it's tasteless.
Let's say you had like
Or it feels distasteful.
relatively anonymous director who's in there, and they're like this, and you're related
that's
to
the-
them.
that's
And then
the
the next
thing.
one, it's like, would it surprise you if it was Robin Williams starting it and then Lauren Bacall finishing it?
No, but I mean, Lauren Bacall...
Pretty famous.
Of course, she's very
Dated
famous.
Bogey.
I mean, she's
Married
Hollywood.
Bogey.
She's a Hollywood
Married
legend.
Bogey. Are you kidding?
She's a Hollywood
Married
legend.
Bogey.
I mean,
I have
think,
a favorite memory of Lauren Bacall at the Oscars. Okay, so the awards is over. She's attended and we're waiting for
This
valet.
year she lost?
Waiting for valet to show up. No, this is the time year she was there, and she was waiting for 40 minutes for her car, and she was steamed. You could just tell. And so I decide I'm going to go up to her, and I go up to her because I know she's from New York, and I go, you know, if we were in Manhattan, we could just get a cab. And she doesn't even look at me. She goes, it's a nightmare. I love that about it.
Last question. What was the most... You've gone to a lot of Oscars. How many have you gone to?
I've covered them since like the late 80s, but I've only been inside the house for like 8 or 9.
Oh, okay. So what was the most emotional in memoriam that you remember? Was there one that stood out, or are they all kind of...
I always thought that when Brando was there, it was huge. I always thought just to put Brando in the in memoriam montage was ridiculous because half the people who were in the Academy were there because of Brando. But Brando is the one I remember. And because Brando hated it and he didn't get you know, all that, but I always thought he was the guy.
What's your favorite Oscar memory ever?
I feel like Cuba Gooding Jr. winning Best Supporting Actor. That just, I mean, there are things that make you cry, and there are things that make you cry because it's like a historical moment or whatever. But his speech was just, it is the best speech for anything I've ever seen in my entire life.
Wow.
It was honest, it was genuine. He was shocked to be winning. I don't know. It really just makes me so happy to think about. I think about that like at least once a month. His winning.
My wife and I were sitting behind Cameron Crowe when he won Best Screenplay. My wife was next to his mother.
That was an important year for both of us, I guess.
It's one of the, you know, I don't know, it was one of the happiest feelings you could ever have for somebody else.
Mine's going to be when Tom Cruise finally wins.
So it hasn't happened yet.
Hasn't happened yet. Sports doppelgangers for current movie people who are mostly involved in the Oscars.
Let's do it.
All right, let's start it with Vince Carter and Michael Keaton. Here's where you go here. Vince Carter had the whole Manimal. He's the next, not half man, half amazing. He's the next MJ. Michael Keaton is battling Hanks. They kind of fall off a cliff. Now Vince Carter playing for a title.
Yeah, I like it.
Michael Keaton.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like
in.
it. I think
I'm
that
in.
works.
Works for me.
You're in
points.
on that, but you're out on the segment.
I'm
I can
out,
feel it
yes,
already.
I'm out of the segment.
Mail it in like Fincher mailed in the first hour of Gone Girl. Just roll the camera.
I'm just going to start showing pictures of Ben Affleck sitting around saying, I didn't do it.
Joe Madden, former Tampa manager, now the Cubs manager, and Paul Thomas Anderson. Here's why I like this one. Joe Madden's never won the World Series.
That's true.
I feel like Paul Thomas Anderson has not won the World Series yet.
I would say this should be Baron Davis.
Ooh. Baron Davis, how come?
Knowledge of Los Angeles at all different areas. The one thing that defines Paul Thomas Anderson, incredible understanding of this town.
Yes.
No, understanding of all different strata of Los Angeles. Baron Davis, grows up here, knows that part of the world, then goes to an elite high school, knows that part of the world, spends 1 year at UCLA, knows that. Constant figure around town, explosive talent. I would say it's Baron Davis.
Plus, Joe Madden dated Fiona Apple for like 3 years. I'm going to get Wesley to buy into this segment if
also,
it kills me.
He's married to someone from the same high school that Baron Davis attended.
Shut up.
Maya Rudolph.
Oh, Maya Rudolph, of course, yeah.
4
All
kids.
Right.
All right.
So Baron Davis, Maya
getting
Rudolph,
close.
Kate Hudson, and Cash Warren?
That's correct.
Murders, that's like almost an Grantland oral history.
And Austin Crozier.
Oh, wow.
Next one.
That is an oral history.
This is my favorite one. We might just stop the segment here. Belichick and David Fincher.
Wrong.
You don't like... Connelly doesn't like this one.
No, it's Belichick and Jim Cameron.
Yeah.
It's Jim Cameron, because Cameron wins on an unbelievable level. I know what you're saying, kind of heartless technician, that kind of thing.
You want to hate him,
but Cameron,
you can't get rid of him?
But Cameron wins, and that guy wins. Cameron thinks he can do everyone's job on the set better than that person can, and he's probably right. It's Cameron. Remember those T-shirts that the softball team that Cameron's production company had? You don't scare me. I've worked for Jim Cameron. It's Jim Cameron.
Does Cameron still make movies?
He's
working on one right now.
Working on one any day now.
I would have thought of Cameron, but I haven't thought of him in like 4 years.
What's your Fincher argument?
Just they're going to go 12-4 every year. Doesn't matter who's on the team. Gone Girl, it's like, all right, I'm going to go 12-4 with Gone Girl.
No, that's true. And the guy who can tell Reese Witherspoon you can't be in Gone Girl is Belichick. That's for sure.
Next one. Rex Ryan and Quentin Tarantino.
Well, they both have a foot thing.
Yeah.
They both had really good foot things.
And we're done. Next one.
Thank you.
Tom Brady and Leo. Now, these two have dated the same person.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
For a while.
Oh, my gosh.
In fact, Tom Brady married that person.
Oh, my gosh.
And they're both, movie stars, famous, handsome people.
I'm always interested in anything that Giselle says. I think the Giselle interviews, are always fascinating.
Wow. I did not think you were going to say that. I don't disagree with you.
She's
a surprising.
Because he is pure of heart to her. I mean, he really is pure of heart to her, and that's a really interesting thing for someone who comes out of the fashion industry, which wouldn't know pure of heart if you hit them up the side of the head with it.
Yes.
That she would be attracted to a guy who she says is different from that. It's a special thing.
Tom Brady is an NFL quarterback who won 3 Super Bowls, who's 6'5", and who's made a ton of money. And he's not the breadwinner in his marriage, and he's not the alpha dog in his marriage. Giselle's going to rule the world at some point.
I think she's ruling now.
Well, it's going to happen. Giselle might invade America.
I love their Instagram. And I'm not a fan of the Patriots, but I love their Instagram.
Next one. I kind of mailed in this next one. Sidney Crosby and Jake Gyllenhaal. People are kind of waiting for Sidney Crosby to take over hockey for a while.
This is
Jake's
it. No,
like, Jake's going to be an A-lister. Hasn't
I'm
happened.
out on this segment, but I love that one.
You've been out on this segment since we started it.
Yeah, and they both have those fresh faces. No, I think there's a lot there.
I think this one's going to get you back in.
I'm for that.
Okay. The next one? Tim Duncan and Meryl Streep? You're back in.
Go on, explain it. Explain it.
Yeah, 2 of the most successful people ever.
Tim Duncan is great because he does everything right. Meryl Streep does things that no one has really imagined being able to do.
She's like the Steffi Graf.
Meryl Streep joked, this wasn't true, but Meryl Streep joked that she named her first son Henry after Henry Aaron. So I'm going to go with Henry Aaron for Meryl Streep.
Tim Duncan, finals 1999, finals 2014. Tim Duncan, it's like year 18 for him. He's almost 40. He's the leading contender for Defensive Player of the Year right now.
Yeah.
And Streep's like just cranking out, what is she, up to 59 Oscar nominations or something?
No, she said 19 nominations. She's won, what, 3
times?
Remember when
so she's 3 and 19? I think that means the Yankees are preparing a $50 million offer for her.
Remember Devil Wears Prada came out, I think, 2006? People are like, Meryl Streep, she's back, reinvented, and we're 9 years later. She's still getting nominated. That's Tim Duncan.
And that is somebody who benefited from not winning so much.
Yeah.
Like if she'd won all those, people would go, I am so sick of her, but because she lost and everybody knew she was great, that made a big difference. And in a way, Duncan and the Spurs losing that series to the Heat has changed the way we felt about them by making them more sympathetic. By showing like this, that there was a flaw in the machine at some point. So Duncan is a nice choice.
And I don't feel like she's had plastic surgery, and I don't think he has either. I don't think he does PDs. That's another one. Wesley, you're so in on this segment. Next one. LeBron and Angelina. 2 physical specimens. They've risen to the top of their game. And now they think they can do more than play/act. LeBron thinks he's a GM, and she thinks she's a director. How about this? Act and play. Next. Hope Solo and Shia LaBeouf. Next. I'm very excited about this one because Gronk and Channing Tatum.
That's 100%.
Channing Tatum would play Gronk in the movie.
That's a grand slam.
Yeah, it's like they're making a Gronk movie. Who they got? Channing Tatum.
Sign, seal it, deliver. That's absolutely right.
I'm almost ready to co-sign.
John Calipari and Wes Anderson.
This
I'm intrigued.
Two people who have created corners that are basically unique to them and only to them.
Do you think Wes Anderson yells the way Calipari yells?
I don't think they have a lot in common with their personalities.
Okay.
Calipari has figured out how to turn Kentucky into an NBA factory, and Wes Anderson has figured out how to make movies that appeal to people specifically that bother me and I don't like. And those are the two corners.
Well, one is an unbelievable recruiter of talent, and the other one used to coach at UMass.
This segment's losing steam. Last one. Wesley, this was yours.
I did contribute one.
Oh, wow.
I would just say Tom Cruise and Serena Williams. I just feel like they're both unstoppable. They both really want to win. They both are kind of superhuman in their own conception of themselves. Although, I feel like Serena, the older she gets, the more willing to sort of concede certain aspects of herself. They also both really fascinate me. I think I just will never, ever get to the bottom of either one of those people. We'll never know.
Well, Tom Cruise is a perfect choice for this because you do really feel like he's got the mindset of an athlete more than any actor I can think of the last 35 years.
Yes. They're utter mysteries in motion at all times.
They've been really good for a long time.
Mm-hmm. We take them for granted.
Dominant.
Cruise Edge of Tomorrow was almost like if Serena won Wimbledon in 2022 or something.
Right. We just take it for granted. Oh, of course, yes. It's another movie in which Tom Cruise...
They're very self-aware, which I think is another thing they share in common.
Yes.
Well, that concludes the internet-only segment of the Grantland Academy Awards preview. We'll be back after this.
For more, go to grantland.com/2015 Oscars.
Hey, what you got there, Goldick?
The new Subway Chipotle chicken melt with guacamole.
Man, that looks good.
Yeah, this new guac is really bringing the flavor.
Got one for me too, right?
Well, yes and no. Mostly no. Well, really, all no.
Try the irresistible new Subway Chipotle chicken melt with guacamole, juicy grilled chicken strips with Monterey cheddar, Chipotle Southwest sauce, and new guacamole made from ripe Hass avocados with just a hint of jalapeno. Subway, eat fresh.